What looks ordinary might carry extraordinary power, and sometimes the quietest ones carry storms within them. It's something most people overlook in a world obsessed with appearances. We've grown so used to linking strength with size, loudness, or titles, that we forget true strength doesn't always wear a uniform. It doesn't need noise to announce itself. Sometimes, strength sits silently in a corner, observing, waiting for the right moment, not to prove anything, but to remind people what power truly is. Think about it. When someone enters a room looking polished, confident, and loud, they attract attention. People assume they're in control, that they're important, that they're strong. But when someone quiet walks in, someone who doesn't fit the expected mold, maybe they're dressed simply, maybe they don't carry the body language of a fighter, maybe they're too calm, we write them off. We assume they don't belong. We laugh, we whisper, and sometimes, we challenge them, not out of curiosity, but from arrogance. That's the mistake. There's a dangerous confidence in underestimating someone. It gives the underdog the sharpest weapon, surprise. It allows them to show not just power, but purpose. And when that moment comes, the shock it leaves behind isn't because they won. It's because they never even needed to prove themselves, but did it anyway, calmly, effortlessly. And the world, which was too busy mocking, suddenly forgets how to speak. The most unforgettable moments in life aren't when someone strong defeats another strong opponent. It's when someone the world ignored, someone dismissed, someone called. Just a simple woman stands up and does something no one expected, and does it without anger, without boasting, without needing to yell. That's the kind of power that shakes people. Not just physically, but emotionally. It rattles the ego. It rewrites the definition of strength right in front of their eyes, because real power doesn't come from belts, or titles, or noise. It comes from what's built silently, over years. In pain. In practice. In patience. It's hidden in the moments no one sees. The early mornings, the failures, the doubts, the quiet determination to keep going. That's the kind of strength that walks into a loud room and silences it. Not with words, not even with force, but with undeniable presence, and that's exactly what happened that day. No announcement. No warm-up. Just a simple woman stepping into a space she wasn't supposed to belong to. And within moments, everyone realized they had completely misunderstood what strength really looks like. What started as a harmless, arrogant joke became the most unforgettable moment in the gym's history. It began with a smirk, the kind that says, "You're not serious, are you?" A few chuckles echoed around the mats. No one took her seriously. She hadn't worn a uniform, hadn't signed up for a class, hadn't even stretched. She just sat there, quiet, still, unimpressive by their standards. That was enough reason for someone to offer a sarcastic challenge, disguised as a light-hearted gesture. The joke was simple, "You want to spar?" Said in a tone soaked in mockery, half expecting her to decline and laugh it off. It wasn't a real invitation, not from their perspective. It was a performance for the audience, a playful flex of superiority. A way to show off, to get a few laughs, to keep the energy in the room light and cocky. But she stood up, and the air shifted. There wasn't a trace of hesitation in her movement. She didn't grin awkwardly, didn't show nerves, didn't flinch. She just walked to the mat, calmly, almost too calmly. People assumed it was naive confidence. That she didn't know what she was doing. That it would be over in a second, and they'd all laugh and move on. Then she bowed. Not mockingly. Not casually. A respectful, precise bow. The kind that belongs to someone who knows the discipline, who respects the art, who has learned it the right way. But still, they didn't notice. Or maybe they didn't want to. The match began, and within seconds, the tone in the room changed and no one could process what they were seeing at first. It wasn't flashy. She didn't explode with wild energy or scream with every move. But she was controlled. Focused. Her stance, her footwork, the way she moved, it was all intentional. Clean. Measured. And when she struck, it wasn't dramatic, but it landed with shocking precision. The black belt stumbled. Once. Then again. People thought it was luck. Until it kept happening, the joke had collapsed. The audience stopped laughing. Some leaned forward. Others stared, wide-eyed. Phones that were pulled out to record a funny moment now captured something unforgettable. A silence took over the gym, not out of fear, but disbelief. She didn't gloat. She didn't celebrate. She simply stepped back, bowed again, and returned to her spot on the bench like nothing happened. And in that stillness, surrounded by stunned faces and dropped jaws, it became clear, this wasn't a joke anymore. This was a lesson. The most dangerous mistake isn't challenging someone stronger than you. It's assuming someone is weak because they're quiet. That day, the joke didn't just backfire, it changed everyone who witnessed it. No one ever looked at a simple woman the same way again. A room full of noise, silenced in seconds. That's the kind of moment that doesn't just stay in the room, it echoes. It begins with casual chatter, laughter, the sound of bodies hitting mats, shoes squeaking, people calling out techniques, and the hum of a regular day in a martial arts gym. The energy is loud, almost arrogant. Everyone feels sure of themselves. They know who the strongest is. They know who commands the space. Or so they think. Then she moves, not with aggression, not with panic, just with certainty. And for the first time, the noise doesn't feel like dominance. It feels like a distraction trying to cover up insecurity. The kind of insecurity that only gets exposed when something truly powerful walks into the room without announcing itself. She doesn't speak. She doesn't try to impress. She doesn't need to. The moment the sparring starts, people expect clumsiness. They expect hesitation. But what they see is something else entirely: balance, focus, and a kind of calm that feels out of place in such a chaotic environment. The first clean strike is what causes the first shift. A sharp, calculated move, too quick to react to. It hits, not just physically, but psychologically. People blink. Wait. Was that real? Did she just land a hit on him? They think it's a fluke, but then the second one comes. And it's even cleaner. Now the whispers start to die. Conversations pause. Laughter fades. Some people lower their phones, others raise them higher, sensing something unusual is happening. The fighter across from her tries to recover, not just in body, but in pride. But his movements are suddenly stiff, unsure. He's rattled. His eyes dart, his balance shifts. He's no longer performing. He's surviving, and just like that, the room goes quiet, not because someone told them to be quiet, not because a fight ended, but because something is unfolding in front of them that doesn't make sense, and yet, they can't look away. No one cheers. No one mocks. They just watch every step she takes, every strike, every deflection. It's surgical. She doesn't waste emotion. She doesn't try to overpower. She controls. It's not flashy, but it's flawless. And with every second that passes, the silence deepens. It's the kind of silence that wraps around you, squeezes your chest, makes your pulse race, not out of fear, but out of a by the time it ends, she's already stepped back. She bows again. Her face remains neutral. She picks up her bottle, returns to the same bench, and sits, exactly where she started. But everything around her has changed. No one claps. No one speaks. Because in that silence, they're all processing the same thing. They didn't just witness a fight. They witnessed a revelation. And in that moment, in that gym filled with belts, sweat, and pride, the quietest person became the loudest truth. She sat back down like nothing had happened. The same simple woman, the same quiet posture, the same half-empty plastic bottle resting on her knee. But the room around her wasn't the same anymore. Not one bit. The black belt stood frozen in the center of the mat, chest heaving, eyes wide, not from exhaustion, but from disbelief. His ego, which had strutted into that match, now sat somewhere crumpled near his pride. He wasn't hurt. Not physically. But something deeper had been cracked open. Something every spectator could feel but not name. No one laughed. No one dared. People looked at each other, searching for confirmation that they had really seen what just happened. The silence wasn't awkward. It was heavy. It was respect, confusion, and shock all tied into one breathless moment. The loudest students, the show-offs, the ones who would mock her under their breath when she first walked in, they were the most stunned. They couldn't even meet her eyes now. A few of them looked like they wanted to say something. Maybe, where did you learn that? Maybe, who are you? Maybe, are you a master? But none of them had the courage to speak. Because somehow, they already knew she wasn't going to answer. Not because she was rude, but because she didn't need to. Whatever she came to prove, she had proven. Not with words. Not with power. But with calm precision, and the kind of grace only someone who has nothing left to prove can carry. An assistant coach finally broke the silence with a soft clap. Just one. Then another joined in. And another. It wasn't applause for a performance. It was reverence for what they had witnessed. She didn't respond.